All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Welcome to A Deeper PTE. I am your host, A Deeper PTE, and we are going to get started with a very interesting topic this evening that has largely been inspired by my garden that I've been sharing with you guys on my main channel, Permission to Exist. And I've really been in some deep meditation over some of the different things that I've been learning as I do this, because I've never really gardened before. This is really an amateur attempt. So I've been getting like a lot of lessons as I go and doing some light studying on YouTube, but also letting the garden teach me. So in that process, I have learned quite a bit, and I was able to kind of flesh out one of the theories that I have regarding Earth, the universe, all of this, the solar system, what this all means, higher powers, things of that nature. Now, if you're over here on A Deeper PTE, you should know that this is the channel where we allow ourselves to be free. We talk about a wide variety of subjects. We go there, we go far out, we go religious, we go spiritual, we speculate, we theorize, we do all that over here. So if you're not someone who's interested in that, you probably want to stick to the main channel, Permission to Exist. But over here, we go there and we go in deep, okay? So welcome everybody as you join the chat. Hey Rebound, hey Rixandra, hey Alexis, welcome you guys. It is so good to have you. All right, so first I want to share with you guys kind of what inspired this whole entire thing. And I'm leading up and setting up to my primary theory, okay? Y'all know how I like to do this. Y'all know I like to kind of walk you there. So let me get my screen shared here and we'll get started. Welcome as you fell into the chat. It's good to have you. It's good to see you. Okay, so this particular live stream was inspired really by my garden, but by two stories that I posted recently. So about a week ago on my main channel, Permission to Exist, I made this post and I was basically telling everyone that one of my flowers had bloomed on that day. And I was really excited because I didn't realize it was a flower for the longest time. So I'm just going to kind of scroll up a little bit. So for the longest, this is all I saw, these leaves. And I've never seen leaves like this before on any plant ever, you guys. I was like, what is this? Is this like evergreen? Is this mistletoe? What is this? Like, I have never seen leaves on a plant, and especially not on a flower. They look like little reindeer horns or something to me. So, and it took forever. Like, they had been like that for like 2 months. So I was like, well, I guess a bird accidentally dropped, not some weed. Wow. A bird accidentally dropped a weed in my garden and now it's growing. So, I wasn't going to pluck it up because I remembered that I had planted flowers. So probably around November or December, I just went to Home Depot and bought what was left of their little flower seeds. And I said, when it starts to get kind of warm again, I'll plant these. And I just took them out there, plopped them in there, didn't keep the bag, didn't keep track of what I put where. Because honestly, I didn't have a lot of hope for my little garden, and I feel bad about that. But anyway, that's a different show. I was like, we'll just plop these in here and see what happens. Well, lo and behold, about 3 months later, a flower pops out. I was excited about that. And it reminded me of the parable of the wheat and the tares, and how essentially that parable says that the two have to grow together because they are indistinguishable at first. You really can't tell what they are. And I just saw a video on YouTube the other day, y'all. I never realized how wheat was actually harvested. And when you see how it's actually harvested, the parable makes even more sense. I'll see if maybe I can find a video on that later, or maybe we'll do a separate stream on that different day. But long story short, it's kind of like one big bush. And they literally have to take it and like slam it on the side of a metal, I guess, trash can or something. Not trash can, but catcher. I know, right? Thank God I didn't cut my little flower. She's so pretty. I would have been so sad. And that's kind of the whole point, right? But they have to like bang the wheat out. and the tears like fly off in the wind. So, but without doing that, you literally can't tell the difference between the two. It's real deep. So, anyway, so this is part one of the inspiration, right? Had I cut this little flower, had I pulled her out, I never would have discovered that she was actually a flower, right? Similar to the wheat and the tare. If you throw them all away, you'll never know which one was actually wheat and which one was actually a tare, right? Okay, great. So, this next picture I'm going to show you is kind of gross. So if you gross out easily, if you don't like bugs, I don't like them either, but I had a lesson to teach, so I had to post this thing, okay? But if you gross out easily and you don't like bugs, I would suggest looking away for probably the next 2 to 3 minutes, okay? So I'm just going to back up. I'm going to go back to my community tab. Okay, here we go. Here come the bugs in 3, 2, 1. Here come these nasty little bugs, okay? I can't even deal with this. This is so gross. So nasty, okay? Now, similar theme, kind of a different lesson though, okay? So this is another one of my flowers that I planted. I have no idea what it is. It's getting really big and tall. And I'm like, I don't know what you are. I know you're a flower, but I don't know what you are, right? But she has been infested by these disgusting little aphids, right? Now, my first instinct is just to spray the whole thing with Raid, kill them all, and get rid of them. But if I do that, the chances of me harming the flower are extremely high. She still hasn't put out her first bud. And there's other plants around this one, like the poppy that I just showed you. No, they're not just bugs. They're disgusting, disgusting little demons, okay? Um, there's other plants like the poppy nearby, and if I spray it with Raid, I might kill everything, trying to take out this nasty little family, okay? So I posted this and you guys actually had a lot of really great suggestions. I ended up buying neem oil, and they got their first dose of neem oil today, and they'll be getting their second dose of neem oil tomorrow. They've already broken up a little bit, but they are still there. And I can't, I just find it so disgusting, mainly because like this is their thing. This is what they do. They don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. They don't fly away and come back. They're so disgusting. And I just hate how they like respect each other's little space and like give each other a perfect centimeter each. Like this is gross, right? So anyway, I'm just gonna not look at those. The point of me posting that one was that to me, these little bugs are evil. And I'm obviously being sarcastic, but I do find them disgusting. This particular evil could easily be wiped out. Easily. I could chop the plant, throw the whole thing in a trash bag, tie it off at the top, and throw it away and be done with it. And then just try to figure out what seed I planted and replant it and start again, right? But what do I do in that process? I destroy the flower. I never get to see what it actually is. It never has an opportunity to come into its fullness, right? So, thanks to you guys, I found a solution. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I'll go ahead and say it now because chances are I'll forget by the end of the show. But the thing that made me act was a comment that said, basically, let me see if I can find it. The comment said that if I don't take care of them, they'll eat the whole thing. It basically said that if I don't take care of them, it will eat the whole entire plant and the flower. And that's what made me act. That's what made me go, oh no. Let's see here. Where is it? I'm going to find it. Here it is. It says, they will devour your lilies and some other ones, like eat it completely. So the flower will be destroyed, whether you do something about it or not, sadly. So that made me act. I hope it's not true. It might be too late, but it made me take action. Because at first I was like, well, maybe they'll just go away. Maybe they'll get full and maybe they'll like leave, you know? But when this person told me that they will absolutely destroy the flower, that's when I said, oh no, now they gotta go. So I ended up getting some neem oil, which I know takes a little bit longer, but apparently it's very effective, so we shall see. So I tell you guys all of this, and I do all this setup for a reason, okay? All of this setup was leading up to something. And what this setup is leading up to is a particular theory I have about the Earth, okay? Planet Earth. I have some, I wouldn't call them necessarily, I think one theory I have is original, and I've already shared that with you guys a couple of videos ago on this channel, a couple of live streams ago. And that is the possibility that the religious entity, the religious deity that we refer to as God, is actually a feminine deity. And I get into all the reasons I think that that might be the case, okay? So tonight, the theory that I'm going to get into tonight with you guys is more of a scientific theory. So Alexa said they don't get full and leave. They just stay. And that's what makes me so grossed out by them in particular. They just stay, like, go away. You're so disgusting. But anyway, this particular theory that I'm going to share with you tonight is more of a scientific and less of a religious theory, although I personally believe that science and religion are trying to describe the same thing. Science and religion are actually attempting to describe the same phenomenon, if that makes sense. So tonight we're going to take a look at more of the my scientific theory. It's still far out there. It's not like based in science, if that makes sense. It's still a sci-fi theory, if you will, which is why we're over here on A Deeper PTE. So get comfortable, settle in while I share my story with you and my theory on what planet Earth might be and what might actually be going on, okay? So, as I said before, we've already taken a look at the religious aspect of God and who we are in relation to God, and who Satan is and who Satan might be in relation to God, in relation to us. If you want the high level summary, if you missed that show, basically that theory is that we are basically in the middle of a divine custody battle. God is mom, Satan is dad. They were married for a long time, then they had kids, and the kids broke them up. Not the kid's fault, but her reaction to the children made him very, very jealous. And in that jealousy, he not only tried to destroy her, but he tried and continues to try to destroy the children as well. So currently we're in the middle of a divine custody battle. And in the end, basically, we have to choose who we're going to go with. Are we going to go live with mom, or are we going to go live with dad? That is the sum total of that theory from that video, okay, that live stream, okay? Now let me give you the more sci-fi, scientific, non-religious theory, okay? In my opinion, and in my theory, Earth is kind of like a startup project. Startup Earth, right? These beings, I don't know who or what they are, other than human beings that are far more advanced than we are. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, they're human beings that are perfectly correct, meaning they have no flaw. So their thought processes are perfect. Everything they do is perfect, if that makes sense. So they don't really make mistakes. They don't really know how to make mistakes. These beings that sit above us and created all of this, okay? It's not that they try not to make mistakes. They literally just can't. They don't know how. Their brains aren't set up that way, right? So a being whose brain is not set up to make mistakes could probably design something like Earth, right? So that's what they did. Where they come from, I don't know. What inspired them to do this little startup, I don't know. I don't have the answers to that yet. All I know is they started it up, right? And essentially it began with the Earth itself. So the water, the air, the sky, the trees, the plants, the grass, right? The mountains, all that. It started with the actual foundation, I guess you could say, of the Earth. Then once they got that kind of mastered and got that going and like got the rotation of the sun and the moon like kind of going and got those cycles going on planet Earth, and they had kind of mastered that. Then they started experimenting with animal. Well, no, no, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Then they started experimenting with things like cells and amoebas and, you know, those little things in the water that you can't really see, bacteria, it like little single celled forms of life. They started playing around with that, messing around with that, right? Yeah, we're at a startup company. You got it, Alexis. Yeah, we're at a startup. Doesn't it feel like it? So, so once they kind of mastered that, then they moved on to like, I guess plants came next. Don't hold me to the timeline, you guys, okay? Just roll with me, all right? Then they moved on to like your insects and things like that. Little stuff, fleas, flies, you know what I mean? They mastered that. Then they started moving on to your smaller animals, like your frogs and things like that. Okay. You see where I'm going with this? So basically, these beings on startup Earth, first they got the Earth itself going with the sun and the moon and all that, and the cycles and the seasons. They got all that set up. Then they started playing around with basic life forms. Then they started playing around with simple, complex life forms. Then, after they were through with that, they moved on to the actual animals. Now, here's where I personally believe the dinosaurs came in. You know, they were experimenting. So they made all these dinosaurs, and it was really cool at first until they realized, uh-oh, these things are kind of destructive. Well, I don't know if the dinosaurs were destructive. I don't know if the movies has us thinking that, you know, or if they lived in peace. But, you know, the Tyrannosaurus Rex seemed pretty destructive to me, and the Velociraptors and all of them, right? Seem pretty destructive to me. But again, those are movies that are telling me that. So anyway, the dinosaurs were here. And apparently they were here for a long time. I don't remember how long, and I don't want to quote because I don't want to misquote, but they were here for a while. And then they were suddenly wiped out, right? Scientists still don't really know why. Some say the Ice Age did it. Some say an asteroid did it. All we know is that all of a sudden, all the dinosaurs were gone, right? Now, in my theory, the reason all the dinosaurs got wiped out is because they were finally ready for their next iteration, which was man, right? Now, this is where your Lucy and all them come in. Your Neanderthal, your, gosh, there's a word, not prehistoric, pre-hominid or something like that. This is where all those come in. And when they find those remains like that, they're like, wow, what does this mean? What is, you know, why are they here? You know, this is where they get the little picture of man evolving from the ape, the theory of evolution that's highly debated, you know, all across the world or whatever. I don't think the theory of evolution is incorrect. Again, like I said at the start of the show, I believe everyone is trying to describe the exact same thing. And religion describes it one way, science describes it another way. But it's the same thing that happened. Everyone just has a different explanation for it, right? So I believe evolution is true because I believe it's possible these beings were experimenting. They were trying to tweak it and get it right, okay? So I'm building up, I'm going somewhere with all of this, okay? So they finally got it right, right? They finally got it to where we didn't grow like woolly hair all over our bodies. Most of us still have like hair on our arms and hair on our legs, but it's not like animal hair. You know what I mean? Um, Probably still need to wax here and there. A lot of us shave here and there, but you're not a woolly mammoth, okay? They finally got it to where we didn't look weird. You know what I mean? Because I do believe these beings are very big on what things look like. Like, I believe they're the creators and the inventors of beauty. They're the ones who put the concept of beauty in our minds. So they didn't want us to look like pre-hominids or whatever those things are called. That's not attractive. So they got it to where we had more skin than hair, but they left a little bit for protective purposes or whatever. They finally got man 1.0, right? And they were happy with it. And they were satisfied enough to kind of let this one like automate, if that makes sense. So once they got man 1.0 done, they backed off basically to see what it would do, right? Now, here's one of the turning points in this theory, okay? So they finally got man 1.0. They're super happy. They're very proud of themselves. It automates, it reproduces, you know what I mean? All that, right? But there's one small problem. And this is all just my theory, you guys. The problem is, just like it says in the Bible, even though this is not the religious take on this, wickedness was found in Satan. So the human has this nasty tendency towards evil. And they, I don't think, know why. I think they still don't quite know why. They still don't quite understand why the human tends to default to evil. And we've talked about this extensively on Permission to Exist. Why, when the brain malfunctions, does it malfunction toward evil and not good? Like if you get a catastrophic head injury, but you survive, why is it possible that you'll become mean and nasty versus the nicest person on earth? So anyway, this is the issue that they are currently dealing with. And it goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the show regarding the wheat and the tares, the weeds and the flowers, the bugs and the flower stalk. The issue I believe they're wrestling with, and the reason I think, for those of you who believe that there is going to be a return of some kind, that these divine beings are coming back, the reason I think it's taking them so long is I think they're stumped, you guys. They're stumped for a couple different reasons. One, they're perplexed that it has gone out of control the way that it has. Like, wow, like why are they so evil though? A little bit here, a little bit there, sure. But why does it tend to like congeal and become like one big monster? Why? That's one problem. But here's another issue that I was actually going to do a separate show on, but I'll just put it in here. The other issue, I'll just go back to where we were just a second ago. Very similar to my plant and my flower. Very similar to that. Let me go back one more. Here we go. And I'm just going to pull it up real quick again. Very similar to this flower. I think they don't know who a lot of us really are yet. So the separate video I was going to do was, I was going to explain why people seem to become evil over time. So think about a person that you know that maybe you've identified as a narcissist potentially. And if you've known them for a while, they may not have always been that way. They may not have always acted that way towards you. This might actually be new, which is part of the reason it's so confusing to you, because it's new behavior. It's not like they've always been this way. So, and that perplexes you because I think one of the lies that we've been taught to believe is that a person is always who they're going to be. Now, character is very static. That is true. However, what I'm starting to believe is that we become more and more of who we actually are every day. So the longer you live, the longer your flower has a chance to bloom, basically. If you live a relatively short life, we may never know who you really were because your flower never really got a chance to grow. Just like how I was looking at just this green part going, what is this? What are you? Are you a weed? Are you a flower? Like, what is this? Are you moss? Is this moss? But the truth of the matter is, it was a flower. And even after the flower bloomed, I had to seek out help to figure out what it was. I didn't recognize it. You see what I mean? I knew it was a flower, obviously, but I didn't know what type of flower it was. And that's kind of my point. So going back to the main theory, part of the reason they don't just swoop in and just wipe everything out, they don't want to hurt the flowers, but they're also having a tough time differentiating between the flowers and the weeds. The pests are a little bit easy to see, obviously. Those filthy, disgusting little red bugs are very easy to see, but it's not always easy to tell the difference between a weed and a flower. Not at first, anyway, unless you're like a botanist or very skilled at gardening or remember what you planted. So that could be another part of the issue, a compounding issue, you guys. They may not have remembered what they planted all those eons ago, or it might have been more of a scattering. So when everything got thrown down with it. The good seeds got thrown down with the bad seeds. So it's not so much about not knowing what you planted as it is not knowing what landed where, who's blooming, and what it's going to turn into. So in many ways, I think they're waiting and watching. So that would then beg the natural question, well, then PTE, what about people who've already died? Well, in many ways, I guess you could say that they just have to gauge it based on whatever stage their bloom was in when they passed away. They were either in full bloom and easily identifiable, or they were on their way to becoming what they truly were. Um, but that's a little bit more complex and a little bit different than what I was actually, the point that I was illustrating. But anyway, so there's that. So just a brief recap. Startup Earth is basically a project that was started by sentient beings who are perfect in thought. So there's no such thing as stupidity with these beings. There's no such thing as ignorance. They know what it is, but it doesn't exist among them because their brains just don't allow for it. Like they just can't do it, basically. Kind of like you probably can't fly. I'll never say that you can't, because who knows what you're in your bedroom doing in your private time. But I would estimate that you probably can't fly. Their minds are like that in the sense that they can't be dumb. It's just not possible, right? And these beings embarked on this project called Earth for reasons unknown, maybe just for the sake of experimentation. Like if you could create life, wouldn't you? Like, wouldn't you create life if you could? So when they discovered that they could do this, they started messing around with it. The early iterations were going to be like your swamp creatures, like your amoebas and single-celled organisms and things like that. Then your fish and, the grass onto the birds, the animals, and eventually us. Then when they were satisfied with what I call man 1.0, which is not the Neanderthals, man 1.0 was like the start of what we would consider modern man. They backed off to kind of see what would happen, to watch and see what we would turn into, basically. Like, what would our ultimate bloom be? What will they turn into, especially if left to their own devices, right? But what they've discovered is that this little human project is not going so well. Yes, there are a lot of great things here on Earth. There's a lot of great people. There's a lot of wonderful people. But it would be hard to argue that we are not really dealing with a serious issue with evil right now. Evil, narcissism, all this stuff. It's kind of hard to deny. And it's part of the reason that's happening is because this little experiment is not going as planned. Or maybe they never had a plan for it. Maybe the whole plan was just to watch and see what happens, right? So now, fast forward, that was just a little summary. They could very easily destroy the whole thing, easily. And all the people in it, everything. They could destroy Earth anytime they wanted to. And Some wonder why they don't just go ahead and do it with the abundance of evil in the world. But think about it from their perspective. Propping this thing up was a lot of work. Getting everything going, getting everything designed, getting all the DNA codes going, that took a lot of work and planning and preparation, a lot of trial and error, a lot of scrapped projects, right? So this little system is beloved to them. It's precious to them for many reasons. Um, it represents a lot of hard work. It represents a lot of achievement to them, but we are their crown achievement. So we are the highest achievement they ever made. And yes, I do believe they made us to look like them, right? Just like the Bible says, made in our image. They made us to look like them. So they kind of like us a little bit, like we're cute to them. It's hard to explain. I think it's similar to how you love your pets. Those of you who have pets, like they should be anyway, very cute to you. And sometimes your pets are really, really bad. They're poorly behaved. And you don't just go wiping out one of your pets because they're bad and naughty. Now, however, though, if one of your pets was harming your other pets, now that's a whole new problem, though, because you're not going to keep one in the group if they're like literally harming your other pets, like with fatalities. That's a problem. And that's the problem that these people, these beings have come across now. The human project has now escalated to a point where they can no longer say, hey, you stop that. Hey, naughty, naughty. Hey, you go sit over there. Hey, time out. They're going to have to intervene at some point, lest the poorly behaved pets wipe out all of them. You see what I mean? So very similar to those nasty little bugs on my plant, once I learned that these bugs can destroy the whole plant, that's when I made the decision that they got to go. Because I'm not a masochist. I'm like, well, they are outside. It is just a flower, I guess. It's my flower, but I mean, it's a flower that's outside, and they are bugs, and they're in their outside environment. So I'm not going to hurt them, even though I think they're disgusting to look at. I'll just let them be, whatever. But then someone said that they could take out the flower, and I said, oh, no, 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 no. I've been waiting too long. I've been watching this thing for too long, and I've been waiting too long for this thing to bloom. For y'all are already nasty. I already find you gross. And then you're going to try to wipe out my flower too? You got to go. Sorry. And if this neem oil doesn't do it, then I'm going to up the ante and increase until I completely make waste of all of them. So you see how quickly my compassion went away? Once I discovered that they were coming close to harming something precious to me. You understand? It was all good just a week ago. And I feel like that's kind of where these beings are right now. They're at the place where, okay, didn't like that. That wasn't nice. To, oh, no, 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 you got to go now because you're getting ready to take out the flower. Okay. So, what I believe is happening currently, and remember, this is the sci fi take. Really, this whole entire take is echoed in the Bible, but we are looking at the scientific take tonight. What I believe these sentient beings are in the process of doing right now, yeah, they're called aphids. Yep, absolutely disgusting. And they're like aware. Like when I go out there and I look at them and I go, y'all are so disgusting. They all like move at the same time. Like they felt that. Like they feel my disgust towards them. Because they don't move. And if I stand there quietly, they will not move. But if I look at them and go, y'all are so nasty, they're all like I can't talk about it. It's giving me the heebie-jeebies. But right now, these sentient beings are devising a plan to rid the earth of these problematic, destructive creatures while keeping the earth itself safe and the precious flowers within safe as well. Now, what that plan is, I do not know. How they're going to go about this, I don't know. How they're going to go about differentiating between the flowers and the weeds and the pests, I don't know, because going back to something I said earlier in the show, I do believe they're having a tough time telling the difference between their flowers and the weeds, the wheat and the tares. It's hard to tell. And something has to separate us. How they're going to do that, I don't know. I really don't. Okay. But moving on to another point in this particular theory, I do believe that in this experiment of theirs, they uncovered a major design flaw. And that design flaw is you cannot blend God and beast. It just doesn't work out very well. Now, I wish I knew my Bible better, because I do believe somewhere in there it talks about how essentially, God breathed the breath of life into clay, basically, the dust of the earth, right? And I do believe that there are some interpretations. Well, see, now I'm getting myself confused. I don't want to misspeak and I don't want to get it wrong, but basically, what I'm trying to say is there are some religious beliefs that human beings are a blend of basically beast and God. Or I think it's in the story of Noah. Part of the reason God sent the flood is because the gods had come down and reproduced with man, or beast, rather. And they made giants as a result of that. Now, obviously, we're not giants, at least we don't think we're giants. But my point is, something about the blend doesn't work. You cannot have one piece divine being mixed with a non-divine being. It doesn't work. You get what you have today. And I think that's why that old archetype of a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, that's where that comes from. Or when people say we all have a bad side, which I don't necessarily, or they call it the shadow side. I hope everyone doesn't have a shadow side, but if we do, well, okay, well, at least we all have one. But I have a tough time believing that everyone is evil to some extent. I think we all have maybe habits or traits that we're not proud of. Like, for example, when I'm driving, hmm, I'm not very nice, you guys. I'm not a very friendly driver. I'm a very considerate driver. I follow the rules of the road. I don't cut people off and slow down. I use my turn signal. I don't hold up traffic in the left lane and make everyone go slow behind me. Like, I'm the one to get all the way over in the right lane to let everybody go. So I'm not saying that I'm a jerk on the highway. What I'm saying is once I've lost my temper, ooh, it's not pretty, y'all. And y'all probably would think, oh, PTE girl, please. You probably just shake your fist like, you bum, don't do that anymore to me. I didn't like that. And if you think that about me, that actually makes me feel really good, because it means you think very highly of me, and thank you. Okay. But I'm not proud of the way that I behave on the highway when I lose my temper. I'm not. So I say that to say that, that's what I think of when I think of, like, okay, dark side, like the things that you would rather hide from people, right? That temper that comes out, the way I start driving when I get furious and lose it on the highway. I wouldn't do that in front of my employer. I wouldn't do that in front of someone I was looking to date, for example. So I guess you could call that a shadow side. Rebound says, no, you're a Capricorn. Thank you, Rebound. I feel heard and validated and seen. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So that's my point, though. The things that we would rather people not see, I don't necessarily equate to evil. What I think is evil is driving slow in the fast lane and expecting everyone to just fall in line behind you and not moving over. To me, that's evil. That's evil. But anyway, that's a different show. Let me get back on track. The point is, this archetype of angel on one shoulder, devil on the other, I believe might come from this blend of God and beast. You can't do it. It's not a good idea. And if you think about it, if they had simply just made us baby gods and put us on the earth, well, there's nothing to separate us from them. So if we're all gods on the earth, just like the Tower of Babel, what's to stop us eventually from basically reaching the top and being like, "Hi mommy, hi daddy, we're back. Why did you put us down here? We want to come home." And they're like, no, you got to stay down there." It's like, no, we want to come home and we're coming home. And if we're gods, what's to stop us from coming on home back with mom and dad? They may not want to see us, y'all. Some speculate that there's a dome over us, and the Bible even suggests such by saying, "Let there be a firmament between the heavens and the earth," or "Let there be a firmament between the that separates the waters from," something like that. It's in Genesis. But some say that that's a literal dome. Different show. Let me know if y'all want to talk about the dome one day. But anyway, I believe they put that dome over us in the event we ever actually figured out how to get back home. We can't get there. Picture a mom and dad who've gone on a retreat, right? And they put all this space and distance and miles between their kids and them so they can have a nice retreat and chill without being bothered by their kids for a little bit, and their kids find them. Let's say they rented, what are those little things? What island is that, y'all? It's real pretty. And you can basically rent, it's like a hut, but the hut is like on water. Like, it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. Your hotel room literally is like on sticks, and there's like a boardwalk, and then there's like a hut, and it's like above like this crystal clear, beautiful water. It's Fuji or Fiji? Fuji? The Fuji Islands or Fiji Islands? Well, those. Imagine mom and dad booked a flight, flew out. Oh, it's Bali. Bali. Flew out to Bali, told the staff at the front hotel desk, if our kids come here, tell them we're not here. They check in with different names. They check in under an alias. They get the most remote little hut on the water in Bali, and their kids find them. Anyway. So that dome might be there to prevent that from happening. But anyway, I say all that to say that they have discovered that, they probably should have just gone ahead and just made us gods like them, as opposed to turning down our intelligence, because in doing so, we have the world that we have today. So to kind of close out this particular stream, I have two more thoughts. I do believe they will be successful in their purge. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I do believe they will be successful. When they scoop up their flowers, or the wheat, rather, I believe we are going to be upgraded from our base animal state to our godlike state. And if what science says is true, I actually believe this is just an old cliche. I don't think this is actually true, but I'm not a scientist, nor have I studied these things, so I don't know. But they claim we only use like 10% of our brain. And if that is true, that makes a lot of sense, because that left room for upgrade. They made room for an upgrade, basically. So if it is true that we indeed only use 10% of our brain, our designers left room for the upgrade because they may have suspected that dialing down our intelligence might turn out to be a bad idea. And in the event that it's a bad idea, they would need to upgrade us, and they would need to leave room left over in our brain to do so. So those who are left over will be upgraded. In the Bible, it says we'll get new bodies, which I believe that will be true as well. because I believe also in their observations, what they've learned is that these bodies are very, very prone to disease. They're prone to injury. Like you could be super alive 1 second and then like completely dead the next from like some sort of accident or something. Like, wow, like there's no transition. Like you can literally be completely alive and then be completely dead. Like that is not good business, okay? From a designer standpoint, think about it like a car. Most cars are designed to take a hit. Most cars are not designed to total out after one accident. Do cars get totaled in one accident? Yes, of course. But their design is actually to where they can take a hit, be repaired, and keep working. Well, humans can take a lot too. Our bodies can endure a lot, but it still doesn't change the fact that you can go from being completely alive to completely dead in a matter of seconds. So, from a design standpoint, that's not good. You understand? So, they're going to upgrade our bodies as well. Because, again, going back to an earlier point, you got to remember that they do actually kind of like us, you guys. Most of us, they don't like the pests. They don't like the weeds. They don't like the things that are destroying the crop. They don't like those. And the complicating factor is that they look so similar to us. So they're waiting for us to come into full bloom, all of us, so they can differentiate, separate us, wipe out the destructive ones, keep us and upgrade us, basically. And once that happens, and after that happens, they will finally reveal themselves again. Because right now, they just can't. Right now, the state of humanity as on a whole, even if they cracked the sky and came down right now, humanity is in a place where they would be like, that's a hologram. I'm not stupid. That's a hologram from CERN. I'm not stupid. That's a hologram. And I'm not going to let you play tricks on my eyes. Nope. And then this thing could like send down a beam to like paralyze them, but keep them conscious. And they'd be like, you can paralyze me all you want to. I'll never believe that you are the most high. I'll never submit to you. I believe one of the first things these beings will do when they go to round everybody up is they're going to silence us. They're going to make us shut up, shut up. They're either just going to seal our lips, seal our mouth, or just bind our tongue up somehow so they don't have to hear all that mess. And they don't have to. They actually don't have to. So once they get us all rounded up, those they don't want to hear from, they can just, that's it. And you can sit there and wiggle and writhe all you want to, but it'll just be like, so anyway, guys, that is my theory on Startup Earth. Like I've said, for a very long time, I think we live in a very strange place. I think this is a very weird little experience. I think life itself is strange. And it should be to you too, if you ever really stop and think about it. One day you just popped into existence, and that's not weird to you. You just went from zero to here one day. To those of you listening in the chat, how old were you when you had your first memory? Your first memory. I don't think I had my first like real true memory till like 7 or 8 years old. Like if I look at a picture, I can jog the memory, but my first legit memory that I can recall is like age 7 or 8. 5. So one day you just popped in at 5. That should be strange to you all. And you were just you, and like you were just like living. You know what I mean? 5-ish. Interesting. I wonder where I was those 2 years. Right, roughly 7 or 8 is my first real memory. But like you were just like here, and then it's like it's not weird to us that we existed all those years prior to our first memory, and we have no recollection of it. So that's pretty weird. The way we even get here is weird. Like two humans come together, get to know each other a little better, One human releases something into the other, who then incubates what that other human released for approximately 9 months. So it's not varied. Like it seems to me like if it were more natural, it would be like one woman's pregnant for 4 months, another's pregnant for six, one's pregnant for 12 months, one lady was pregnant for 26 months. But nope, 9 months approximately, 10 max, and you're popping out of there. And you have no clue any of this is going on for years. Like, I just find the whole experience to be incredibly strange and weird. I have many thoughts and many questions, and this is just one of the thoughts that I have about the experience of life itself, planet Earth, and everything that's going on with it. If you are interested in my other more religious theory, I will link that in the description box for you once this show has concluded. But that one is the one I actually think is correct. I think we're in the middle of a divine custody battle. And if you really look at life itself and think about all your friends and family members that you've known, and think about the pattern that it always follows, it seems. It's the same pattern over and over and over again. So I might actually do a follow-up show to that one to kind of get deeper into that pattern and why I think we're in a spiritual divine custody battle between our mother God and father Satan. But different show, different day. You guys, I appreciate you all so much for joining me. Thank you for coming. And we will talk again very soon, either over here on A Deeper PTE or on my primary channel, Permission to Exist. Also, do check out the podcast, which is now live on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We finally made it to Spotify, y'all. And Anchor, okay? And the actual title is PTE Podcasts, but you can search Permission to Exist and find me that way as well. It will only be the live streams from PTE though. But if you guys request it, I will do a separate podcast for A Deeper PTE. But let me commit to this other one first and get that one going before I go adding more projects to my plate, okay? So with that, you guys, take care. We'll talk to each other again very, very soon. And I hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye.